Welcome into the PFF State of the Franchise. It is your Cincinnati Bengals edition. Sam, the Bengals haven't made a ton of moves this offseason, but I think when you look at their roster these last couple of years, 2015, I think it kind of peaked. They had a lot of their young homegrown talent move on, and they've really replenished that roster these last couple of years. Big picture, where do you think they stand right now, both sides of the ball? And then we'll talk about what they've done and what they're going to be doing going forward in the draft.
Yeah, it's not a bad-looking roster. You know, they've got talent at a lot of spots. They really knocked it out of the park last year with their draft in terms of acquiring several young players that made a real impact on this team. We talked about heading into last season how this team had 6 potential first-round talent guys that were going to take the field essentially for the first time last year, and at least a few of those panned out. Guys like Jordan Willis on the defensive line, Carl Lawson at linebacker slash situational pass rusher.
A fourth rounder who we said he was a first round talent and he was the best pass rushing rookie last season.
Played exactly like it. So they've done a lot to replenish this roster, to reload. There's still some holes. They still need to attack a couple of spots, but they're in decent shape.
You get 2 seconds. Tell me about your boy William Jackson. I know you love him.
We're going to need more than 2 seconds here. One of the biggest moves they're going to have this offseason is they might actually start playing William Jackson as a starter now, not as a third corner who's just going to play some snaps for them. You can make the case that William Jackson last year had the greatest statistical cornerback season we have seen since we've been grading, which goes back to 2006 at this point. That's 12 years of grading. That spans Darrelle Revis's career. William Jackson's numbers were mind-blowing. He allowed a passer rating of 36.1. The passer rating of just throwing the ball into the dirt every play, 39.6. So statistically, you were better off junking the ball and not even trying to target William Jackson last year. Allowed just 35% of the passes coming his way to be caught by receivers. If you're under 50%, you're doing well. 35% is absolutely absurd. This guy also did it facing Antonio Brown twice in the season. 7 targets, no catches for Antonio Brown, 4 pass breakups, I think, were the numbers there. So this is a guy that's played absolutely phenomenal, legitimately has the talent to be one of the best shutdown corners in this game, and now we're going to see him essentially come in as a starter.
Yeah, so the big point here is it looks like the roster's shaping up well in certain areas, but the place that held them down last year that we anticipated would hold them down last year was that offensive line. There was a lot of turnover with Andrew Whitworth, Kevin Zeitler moving on, Cedric Ogbuehi, and Jake Fisher as offensive tackle last year just did not work. And I think the biggest move that they made this offseason was trading for Cordy Glenn, Buffalo Bills offensive tackle. And we keep talking about how it's really just not a good league for offensive tackles right now. And Cordy Glenn, when healthy, is one of the league's best. He's in that top half of offensive tackles. That's extremely valuable, and it's a huge move for the Bengals, who do not have to go into the draft and target a tackle. Still need to get some offensive linemen, but Cordy Glenn comes in to solidify that left tackle spot.
Yeah, you did mention the big caveat with him, though. It's when healthy, and that is the key. Nobody, I think, is questioning Cordy Glenn's talent, his performance when he's on the field. He is a fantastic left tackle. He has the potential, I think, to be a really, really good player at that spot for them, but he's a guy whose injury history is now concerning. You know, you can't necessarily rely on him being there every single season, game in, game out, and that's why he was available for such a relatively modest compensation. But I think for a team in the Bengals who swung and missed so hard on multiple offensive tackles, it's a good move. He should dramatically upgrade that spot, and he does give them the flexibility, like you said, to not need to aggressively target tackle and tackle only in the draft as their only means of fixing that. I think it's a nice move that could at least fix one of those spots.
We'll get to some draft options in a minute, but the other significant move, bringing in Preston Brown, linebacker from the Buffalo Bills, led the league in tackles, Sam, so he has to be good. It's kind of it's not a huge move because he's okay as a player despite those tackle numbers.
We don't have time in this video for me to get into how bad a statistic tackles is, but suffice to say, it's a terrible, terrible way of measuring linebackers. You know, teams record them individually, not collectively. They can be warped. They can bear no resemblance to reality whatsoever, regardless of the tackle numbers. Preston Brown, not a phenomenal upgrade for this team, but this is a team that has not had good linebacker play in a long time, so lateral move, should we say.
He looked solid last year at 71.6, coming off of a couple of rough seasons before that. So, all right, let's get into the draft because there weren't a ton of moves that the Bengals made this offseason, but the offensive line still a hole. Center, a big question mark. Russell Bodine had struggled in recent years. He's moving on. They could absolutely attack center early in the draft. Could still use some help at guard. Could even go tackle again if they do decide they want to move on from Jake Fisher at right tackle. Give me some options for the offensive line for the Bengals.
They could actually fill both those needs with consecutive picks. You know, I know in your mock you've had them take an Isaiah Wynn, a tackle / guard out of Georgia. The guy that I think would be a perfect fit for this team is Frank Ragnow, the center out of Arkansas. We are way higher on Ragnow than the conventional wisdom is, and you can see why from looking at the tape. You know, it looks ugly a lot of times with Ragnow. He kind of whiffs early in the play, but then just latches on with these hands of granite and drives guys out of the play anyway. When you look at the tape, he has had 2 seasons of phenomenal grading at PFF. His grading is every bit as strong as Quentin Nelson's, the guard out of Notre Dame, who was widely agreed is one of the best players in this
He's the
entire
top guy,
draft.
yeah.
Ragnow is that good from what we've seen on tape. He doesn't finish the same way, but he could be every bit as good. And instead of first-round top 10 hype, people are talking about him as a mid-round draft pick. If you could get Wynn in the first round, come back, get Ragnow in the second, that could completely transform your offensive line. I would take Ragnow as high as their first-round pick, 21 overall, but if you're able to do that in the second, that is a steal.
I love that possibility. Here's the other angle I would like to see the Bengals take if it's not offensive line. Going back to 2015, Andy Dalton's best season was when he had his playmakers. It was A.J. Green, it was Marvin Jones, it was Mohamed Sanu, and a healthy Tyler Eifert. Now, they re-signed Eifert. He's back. Big health question, but when he is healthy, it's a completely different offense. But I want to see some more playmakers. They drafted John Ross last year, maybe one more potential outside receiver, or maybe a slot receiver, maybe Kiki Kute out of Texas Tech. I just like saying that guy's name. If you continue to surround Dalton with playmakers, he could put up some good passing numbers, and I think that might be another angle, another way that the Bengals can really rejuvenate that offense.
Yeah, you've got to assume that they're going to give John Ross another shot at getting this done. He's got the speed to stretch the field on the outside, Tyler Boyd to play the inside. They can definitely use an upgrade there, but I think they're going to hope that upgrade comes internally. The tight end position, though, is one where you could take that gamble. You know, Tyler Eifert at this point, if he's healthy, it's a bonus. They can't possibly be banking on it at this stage. Tyler Kroft looked okay in his stead, but again, they could easily upgrade any one of those skill possessions if they find a guy that has the talent to be that game breaker.
Yeah, so if they do want to look maybe second round at tight ends, Mark Andrews out of Oklahoma, maybe Mike Gesicki out of Penn State, who absolutely destroyed the combine.
Phenomenal workout numbers.
Yeah, incredible, and it shows up on the field too. Yeah. He's got length, he's good after the catch. So I think the key, get that offensive line, but also find a way to surround Andy Dalton with more playmakers. The defense has those young playmakers, the Carl Lawsons, the William Jacksons. They're starting to really turn things around. So I think the roster in Cincinnati is on the upswing. It's another big draft for them, especially if they do have to attack the offensive line or a couple offensive playmaking positions. That is your Cincinnati Bengals State of the Franchise, and it's powered by PFF Elite.